Hey guys, what's up? My name is Sierra, also known as Ivana, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. Today we also have a special guest, Tofu, so if you see a little bit of ears poking up in the corner, that's my dog. So today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read for the month of March, talking a little bit about them. Yeah, so let's get started. So the first book that I have here is Black Girls Must Die Exhausted by Jane Allen, and I really enjoyed this. I also listened to this on audiobook, borrowed from my library through the app Libby. And yeah, it followed our main character, Tabitha Walker, and her whole life is perfect on paper. She is at the right place in her career. She has a great boyfriend, and she's ready to take the next steps and start a family. And when she finds out that everything that she worked towards may not come together in the way that she expected it to, I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook for this one. There was specifically a scene right in the beginning that was her being stopped by a cop on the way home from like a doctor's appointment, or on the way to work from a doctor's appointment. That was kind of triggering, but in like a good and powerful way. And just the interaction felt really authentic in a way that I feel like I would react in that situation. And it ends up becoming a larger plot point in the rest in the throughout the book, or towards the end of the book. I really enjoyed my time in Tabitha's world. I really enjoyed her story. I appreciate the way that she valued her friends and her community, and the way that she continued to put effort into things that she found important, and also in herself. I loved her arc of coming to terms with herself, and being confident in the person that she is, and confident in her own abilities to do what it is she needed to do to get to the next step. And so overall, I enjoyed Tabitha's character. I enjoyed the read. And there's another book. I don't know if it's a series or if it's like just in the same world. I'm not sure, but I know there's another book by this author that's similar. So I am going to pick that up eventually, but for now this was a good read. I think I gave it 4 stars. And I also keep track of all of my notes for my books in Notion. So I have like my notes on my phone. So if you guys see me looking down, that's why I'm like referencing my notes for each read. The next one, this was also an audiobook borrowed from the library. This is Lock the Doors by Vincent Ralph. This follows our main character. His name is Tom. And Tom's family has just moved into their dream home with his mother and his stepfather and his stepsister as a part of their new blended family. And something is super off about this house. Okay, he realizes that there are locks on the outside of the doors and weird messages written on the wall. And so you're following Tom as he tries to figure out the history of the home that he is now in, whose previous inhabitants happen to live around the corner within perfect view of his window. And so you're following him as he's trying to play savior and figure out what's wrong with this house and what's wrong potentially with the family that lived in it before him. I found this to be a pretty enjoyable read. I honestly listened to most of this while I was crocheting a bag, so it was nice to have something to like listen to while I did that, because crocheting is like very just sitting there looking at something for hours on end, so it's nice to have something to listen to. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it 3 stars. It's like horror, suspense. The themes just weren't my favorite. Like, I'm not super into horror, so that's why it's only at 3 stars. But I enjoyed it. Okay, cool. So the next book I have here is True Biz by Sarah Novick. I really, really enjoyed this read. This one is basically following 3 main characters, all of which surrounding the school of the deaf. So one of our main characters, Charlie, is has a cochlear implant, and she's been going to hearing school her entire life, but following her parents' divorce, her father gets full custody and finally puts her in a school for the deaf, where she meets our golden boy, Austin, who is 3rd generation deaf and has a lot of ties to the deaf community. And we're also meeting our headmistress, who is hearing but born to 2 deaf parents, and she's super immersed in deaf culture and throughout this story, I really feel like there was a really powerful message about the access to language and the ability to communicate your feelings effectively. And just for the first time, it brought to me the idea of what it's like to live a life without access to language, without the ability to express yourself and do so freely in a way that feels authentic to you. And so I think that this was an amazing read. I think that it was really informative of deaf culture in ways that like I never knew. There's also these really cool like tidbits throughout the story because the headmistress February, as she's like, as you go through the story, she's teaching a class on deaf history. So they give you little like snippets of deaf history and deaf culture throughout the book, where like they're showing you, explaining to you what or how the language is used, because it's not like sign language, from what I understand, is not just like moving your hands, but it's a full body language experience. And there are different dialects of the language. There are, you know, there, and it's really interesting. I've never thought about it as much as I did as when I read this, and I think that it was a really informative read. I think that the three characters played off each other really well. The story does start with two of the characters, or two students, going missing from the school and the headmistress on a path to find them, and then goes back in time to lead up to how they got there. I found this really interesting. I honestly really enjoyed it, and I gave this a 4 stars, but it's really like a 4.5 star read. It was really, really good. The next book I have here is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Okay, so this follows our main character. She hops on a boat with the guy she just met to live out his dreams of traveling around the world on his boat. And they end up on a deserted slash dangerous island with these people they barely know. And chaos breaks loose. That's that's what happens. Chaos breaks loose. It's a pretty good page turner, I have to admit. Like I did not want to put it down. I found the story pretty enjoyable, but I did not like the main character. She was pretty annoying and did not have a backbone for a lot of the story. But it definitely does make sense with the content matter. I mean, she was definitely made sense for the book, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I think if you like these kind of castaway thrillers, like isolated from the rest of the world type books, that you'll enjoy this one. And the last one I have for this month is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This is also my book of the month pick for like last month, yeah. Oh yeah, February 2020. Yeah, so for February, this was my book of the month pick, and this one follows our main character who was picked out of. So our main character is a writer, and you meet her a year after falling out with her best friend, and they're both picked to go on this writing retreat with their favorite author, and they're into writing like gothic, mystery, horror, gory. That's the vibe that this book gives. You're following their retreat. They're at this like huge gothic mansion with 4 other women. The main characters with 4 other women that are all trying to write their novels in the span of a month, but shit hits the fan. Okay, I thought this was a pretty good read. It was a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I usually don't read like thrillers that much, but I guess I read like 2 last month. But this was a 3-star read for me. It was pretty good. I recommend it if you're into horror, if you're into thrillers, or if you're into slashers. This is one for you. So these are my books for the month. Ooh. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed your time here with me today. I know I enjoyed mine. If you've read any of these, or are looking forward to read any of these, or have any recommendations for me to read next, please leave them in the comments below, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. Bye!